You're listening to the Redditch Standard podcast because you have impeccable taste.
Hi, my name's Ross Crawford and welcome to the Redditch Standard podcast. Here this week, once again, we have in the studio the leader of Redditch Borough Council, Cllr Matt Dormer. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Ross.
And we all know, I think, while you're here, we're talking about the voluntary and community sector and plans that the council have or had to steadily withdraw the amount of subsidy you give them in terms of rent. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that, Matt?
Well, yeah, obviously, everybody's aware now we've pulled the paper for this evening. We're going to organise a day where we'll sit down with the voluntary community sector organisations that benefit from these rent reductions, and we'll get a better understanding as to their needs and our needs as a council as well, and assist them to deliver on the strategic purposes of the organisation, and then possibly look to probably put in a different type of scheme that will help with their funding and help with their rent support as well.
Yeah, the thing that struck me was it's a bit like putting the cart before the horse. Shouldn't you have done all these discussions before you came up with this proposal and put it on the council agenda?
Yeah, I think, you are right. I think hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think when your back's to the wall and you are faced with making very tough decisions and having to save so much money, then, we are elected and we're responsible for the public purse, and we have to do what is best for the council and for the people of Redditch at all time. And so when you're trying to make such large savings, then sometimes, you can act a bit quick and then think after. But on this occasion, we've had a rethink. We'll engage with them and we'll see what is best for the town and what is best for them. I think one of the key things that has come out of all of this is, firstly, how much we've actually got in the budget and against how much we're actually spending. The budget's only £15,000 for these organisations for some reason, and has been for years. However, we're giving away £90,000 worth.
Yeah, it's a kind of organic nature of how it's growing up, though, isn't it? I think as these services have been cut back, voluntary organisations have come in a kind of piecemeal fashion, haven't they?
They have, yeah. And I think a lot of these things that are done aren't the council's responsibilities. They might be the county council's responsibility. Yeah. They might be the responsibility of other organisations. And therefore, it's down to them to fund them. But the easy option all the time is the council. Now, what we have is, we have officers with the knowledge that will assist all of these people in applying for funding in different directions. A lot of these organisations do some fantastic work, and they just need to tap into the right funding so that they're not so reliant on the council. Then the council can look at, reviewing this policy.
So is it worth talking to the county council? I know in my council tax bill, the lion's share of the cash goes to the county council.
The lion's share of the cash always goes to the county council, doesn't it? It's all of these organisations, it is worth talking to the county council. They are picking up some of their work. So the funding should come from them in some cases, not in all cases. The NHS should be funding some of this in some cases, not in all cases. So there's funding to be tapped into at every angle for these organisations. And I think the key thing is it shouldn't always just be the council that people come to because it's simplest.
Yeah, we're back to putting the cart before the horse again, though, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
That you've got to take people with you on this journey, haven't you?
Yeah, we have to take people. And I think that's probably the biggest learning thing that's come out of this is we take people with us on the journey, keep them informed all the way along, and assist them to get the funding before we look at, reducing our funding.
Yeah, it just strikes me there's a bit of a pattern here because if you look at Winyates and Matchborough and the two centres, the single centre, And the way that the Conservatives moved before the last local election.
I don't think our stance has ever really changed on the district centres, whether it's 2 or 1. It's whatever business case stacks up. Now, obviously, the council has to become more commercial to become more sustainable. We've always insisted all the way along that, yes, the centres may not be as big as each other, but there will be an element of retail at each centre. Whether that's just a newsagent and a pharmacy at the one centre and a more substantial centre at the other end, that might be the case. It might be vice versa, or it might be an even split. We won't know anything until we've gone out to test the market, really, with whichever developers are interested.
Because one of the concerns raised by these voluntary organisations was, for instance, in Churchill, rents have gone up something like 4-fold. And to expect some of these organisations that are paying, albeit a peppercorn rate, to suddenly have their rent not only at the commercial rate, but 4 times higher.
And I think there's massive lessons to be learnt from Churchill. Redditch Borough Council owns none of Churchill. We gave up a lot. We had to compulsory purchase a pub and then give that up as well. So the council lost a lot of money at Churchill. That won't be happening again. That won't happen at Matchborough. It won't happen at Winyates. It won't happen in this town centre either. We will retain some of the commercial aspect, and we will not lose any housing either in the centre. So, if anything, we should look to increase.
Do you acknowledge that some of these charities, they can't survive without subsidy?
I should imagine all of them can't survive without subsidy. But that's where the council, the one thing, like I said, we have got is the skill set and the will to assist them in gaining funding from wherever it needs to come from. Not always the council first.
Right, and what happened to these mystery letters that supposedly went out to the charities? I've spoken to every single, not to every single one, to 5 different charities. Letters were meant to have gone out to these charities, telling them of the council plans, and everyone I've spoken to never received a letter. To
the best of my knowledge, that was supposed to have happened. I just can't comment. I don't know. Right.
So is it now back to the drawing board on the VCS sector, or is it what's the next step?
So we'll set up a meeting with all these organisations, like I said earlier, and then we'll see what their needs are, what our needs are, and try and strike a happy medium there, really, and look to. We won't abandon them. We will look to support them in any which way we can.
Okay, and I think you dodged a bullet as well with Matchborough Boxing Club, didn't you?
What do you mean, dodged the bullet?
Well, the Duke of Kent coming to congratulate them on all the fine work they were doing. If you'd gone ahead with your policy, Sarah Lee, who runs it, she'd have been saying, well, actually, the council are closing us down.
I don't think the council is looking to close anybody down. We are just trying to get our finances in order, and that is key in all of this. A Section 24 notice it really is. You're sat in the saloon at Last Chance Cafe ordering a shot. So you need
just
to
want to
sort
explain
things out.
What the Section 24
Section 24 is basically we have to file a balanced budget over the next 4 years. We don't have the reserves to meet the shortfall. That's why we got the notice. Had the reserves been there to cover the shortfall, we'd absolutely be fine, but we would still be having to look at making these decisions. We'd have just had a stay of execution. But now this notice says we have to get our ship in order before the end of this financial year. So we've got 5 months.
Right, and one of your phrases is everything's got to wash its face.
Everything has got to wash its face. Yes, we will assist every organisation to be more sustainable.
What struck me about this week, well, next week in fact, is you're laying on a free bonfire party. You're literally burning tenors. You're sending tenors up in flames.
We are sending tenors up in flames.
On the
that's
same
right.
day, you're having a bucket collection for the voluntary.
Have you noticed they're plastic now, these tenors, so they don't burn as well? So, we are looking for, voluntary contributions towards, and it's not going to go towards the bonfire. We're already committed in the budget for spending money on the bonfire. So the money that we take will go towards the voluntary community sector. That's my plan with that. And that will be the same with any events that we look to do across the town now. My plan is they have to be at no cost to the council. So however we run the event, so if concessions come in, they have to make up the cost towards whatever this event is. Then we will look at voluntary contributions off people when they come in, rather than forced contributions, and that money will go to the voluntary community sector towards their rent, towards whatever. Okay.
How much is the firework display costing then?
I think the budget... I'm not going to commit on that. I think the budget's about 12 to 15,000. Yeah. But I think the biggest cost on that is the security, the fencing, the lighting, all of the infrastructure that you have to put in to make the place safe. I think the fireworks themselves are a smaller cost. So I think the way we have it at the moment could probably be done better to reduce the road closure and things like that. I think the road closure takes up a large lump of money.
Park and ride.
Park and ride, yeah, there you go.
That's going to be costly.
Or better still, walk.
Yes.
The town's not that big.
Yeah, yeah. It's just that, it struck me that, Ulster Rugby Club, for instance, they've got a bonfire party. They're charging £6 for adults to get in. Why isn't Redditch charging?
And I think in the location it is, well, as you know, I worked at the fire station, and we had bonfires for years and years and years, and we charged for that, and, that was a very, very well-run event. Being at the Outer Valley Lake, it's almost impossible to section it off so that people can come in and to charge at different points. It would be almost impossible. If we had to do it, we would have to fence the whole lake, which would cost us thousands, and then have gated access, which, again, it's just, for the amount it would cost and the amount you pull back in, it just wouldn't be worth it. So by asking for a voluntary contribution, if people have had a good time and they've enjoyed the fireworks, then make a contribution. It doesn't hurt. Yeah, you would expect to pay anywhere you went, so make a voluntary contribution. That's all we're asking. Yeah,
to be honest, I mean, my opinion of the people of Redditch is that generally, if you put somebody up on the pathways into Outer Valley Lake, for the firework display, they'll pay.
I could not agree with you more, Ross. I think when people are asked, they will always volunteer to pay.
Yeah. So charging a £5 on the path in, I don't see it as a problem, really.
No, I don't either. I don't.
So why aren't you doing it?
Because there's too many access points. There's paths, there's fields, there's holes in hedges, and people just come to the lake from everywhere. So it's where best to stand. I get exactly what you're saying. We could charge at an access point, and the majority would, but I think we are where we are for this year, but we are looking for future events.
Okay, and moving on then, so back to the voluntary community sector.
Yeah.
When's that likely to reappear on the council agenda?
Probably December is when we'll look to bring this. Which will give us plenty of time to talk to organisations, establish a better understanding of what they give and what they do for the community. And like I say, are they achieving the council's strategic purpose as well? So, which is key. There are issues in the town. I think these organisations and the council need to address, with smoking issues, obesity issues, getting people back into work. They're all key issues, really. So,
but you recognise, the vital role. For instance, at Reach CIC at Winyates, the room itself is used by the council.
Yeah, it is used by the council, used by quite a number of organisations as well. But the council has other buildings that are underused and other rooms in other places that are underused, and perhaps a conversation may be best had with the people at Reach and the people that use that space, and seeing if there's other options for them. You know, it doesn't have to be in a shop. The shop might be the small location. It might cost more money to heat that, whereas we've got community rooms that are underused. So perhaps that's a solution. Everything's a solution if we'll all sit around a table and talk about it.
Right. I'm glad you recognised that at last. Yeah. And again, moving on. Well, not moving on. Staying on the same subject, really. Yeah. Organisations like, what would you say to the Reverend Robin Baker from Acts of Kindness? He's already instructed some of his people to start looking for a new base for the food bank in Wynyates. What would you say to somebody like him?
Don't be so hasty. If you are delivering for your community what is best for your community, then we're going to look to support you, because we will recognise the good that you are doing, and we will look to support you, and that's the long and the short of it, really. So don't be so hasty. If you're doing a good job, we'll support you.
And so, for instance, you and I met up at Sandycroft with Lee Mackenzie.
Yeah.
What would you say to her?
Lee does a fantastic job. She gets NHS referrals, which probably brings me on to perhaps you should be tapping the NHS up for funding instead of relying on Redditch Borough Council. So this is where we will sit officers with her and assist her to make the most of what she's delivering. She does do a fantastic job, and she has a lot of referrals and sees a lot of people at that organisation. So, we will look to support every organisation that delivers on the council's strategic purpose and does what is best for the town and the communities.
Yeah, and people like Mary Jones, one of the people that uses the Reach CIC building, who looks after people with mental health difficulties. Yeah. She's a volunteer. Nobody earns a penny out of this.
No,
these
they don't.
People are, the council gives themselves a £60,000 pay rise. This is the point that's been brought up time and time again, and you can sigh there. But these people, they're doing it for nothing. They're putting their own money into what they're doing.
I take my hat off to all of them. They do a fantastic job, but there is funding for what they're doing. Perhaps we just need to help them unlock that funding so that they can deliver their service, and actually make a bit of a wage out of it for themselves to compensate them for their time.
Right. This morning, moving on from the VCS, I had a press release from Rachel McLean regarding the Towns Fund.
Okay, yeah.
And Redditch could be in line for £25 million?
Yeah, up to 25 million. Obviously, that's down to the council now to submit a strong business case. We'll aim higher than that. We'll try and get more than that. I know it says up to 25 million, but I think if you aim higher, then you've got a better chance of getting all of the money that is in the pot for you.
Well, you missed out on the High Street Fund, didn't you?
Yeah, we missed out on the High Street Fund twice. So So
you're looking for, Mrs. McLean said she's looking for contributions, some ideas from members of the public.
Yeah.
But that money can't be used to support.
No, the money cannot be used to support the voluntary sector. The money is there for regeneration, for development, for making the town a better place, just for basically regenerating the district centres, the train station, Church Road over there, public services hub, community hub, all of these things, just to make the town great.
Okay, you've had a bad few weeks with this VCS thing here. Is there any more bad news in the pipeline?
I'm sure there's more bad news in the pipeline, but I think, like I say, we've got a lot of money to find. We've got to do what's best for the town, and we've got to safeguard our frontline services. So the last thing I want to do is cut frontline services. So We'll drive down everything, every budget that we've got. We'll save every nickel we can, and we'll look to save every job we can, and yet still try and deliver the services we're delivering now. But that's hard. That's really hard.
Well, you volunteered for the job, then,
I
didn't you?
did volunteer for the job. Yes. Didn't I just?
I think it comes with the territory.
It does. Yeah. I have broad shoulders.
Yeah. Matt, thanks for coming in once
Pleasure,
again
pleasure.
this week. My name's Ross Crawford. I'm the editor of the Redditch Standard. You've been listening to me chatting to Councillor Matt Dormer, the leader of Redditch Borough Council. You can contact me on 01527 588 697. You can email me at ross.crawford@boulevardmedia.com or at editor@redditchstandard.co.uk. Don't forget to check out our website, www.redditchstandard.co.uk. And if you want to get in touch with Matt at all, if you want to complain to Councillor Dormer,
My address is the moon.
he's easy enough to contact via the town hall. And thanks to Cllr, who's done all our sound. Thanks, Cllr, and see you next week.